Hi, this is Sam. Today I'm joined by Jose Antonio from Coca-Cola Europacific Company. Jose Antonio is currently Chief Customer Service and Supply Chain Officer within CCEP, overseeing the end-to-end supply chain across a wide range of markets in Europe and the Asia-Pacific region. Jose Antonio, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
First things first, I'd love to just get to know a little bit more about yourself and how you made it to where you are today. Could you just tell me a bit about yourself and your career journey?
Yeah, sure. Well, I would say that I'm an engineer by education, but also I have studied a degree on economics. And I have to say that despite I did quite a technical studies at the university. I did a PhD in electrical engineering. During my university time, I was working in an electricity company, and I decided I prefer to be in the fast-moving consumer goods. So my first job was in P&G and in supply chain for 5 years, working in manufacturing, producing diapers. After that, where I did several roles, I would say that almost everything that you can do in a factory, I did it at that time. Then I moved into Danone, the Danone group, in the biscuits branch at that time, and I was production manager there, site manager. And then I joined 20 years ago to the Coca-Cola system as plant managers, and since then I have been working in different areas of supply chain, but not only in supply chain. Have been in charge of manufacturing for several factories, in charge of engineering. After that, I also has been leading the integration of several merchant acquisitions, not only from a supply chain point of view, but from the full business perspective. And after that, I have been working for the strategy for the supply chain organization in Europe. After that, I had the opportunity to take the role of Chief Customer Service and Supply Chain Officer. And during the last 5 years in CCP, we have been growing through mergers and acquisitions. And now we are running 31 countries with more than 90 factories, more than 25,000 people working in supply chain, and clearly an end-to-end operation that is really, really interesting. And I really enjoy being in front of that. I'm really honored of representing all of them.
Fantastic. No, thank you so much for the introduction. Could you tell me, Jose Antonio, throughout your career, what was some of the most important advice that you were given personally by mentors throughout your career?
Well, I would say two. They are probably a bit not the typical ones, but they are the ones that I remember every day, because normally in your career you get a lot of good advices. But there are some of them that stick to your mind. And in my case, I would mention two. The first one is, I remember a professor in early days of the university that told me, Jose Antonio, work hard and the life will give you more than you expect. And that's something that from the very beginning of my life I have been doing. It doesn't mean that you have to get crazy, but you don't have to underestimate the power of really a can-do and a work or attitude. And I think that's something that is very, very close to my mind. No matter what is your role, no matter how you do, if you really don't focus on working hard, it doesn't mean working crazy. I mean, working hard, I think it's one of the key topics in order to be successful in your career. That's my first advice. The second one was a bit of about career planning. I remember that I was told, well, you have to take care about your career. You have to plan your career, but you don't have to do anything just because it's the plan in your career. You have to enjoy what you do, and that will guide you in the right direction. And I think that's something critically important. Sometimes people get crazy on following the typical career path or what have been told that is the right approach in order to be promoted. And in this journey, they finish doing jobs that they don't like or they don't enjoy. And that's the worst thing that you can do, because you are feeling miserable while you are doing that. And if you are not enjoying, you will never bright on the road. And probably that's also an advice that stick in my mind, it's okay, you have to be clear on what is the right thing for your career, but you don't have to do everything just because it's the right thing for your career. You have to enjoy and have fun in what you do. And if you do it like that, your choices or chances of success are significantly higher. That's probably the two advices that I still follow and the ones that I tell to my sons. So
I think it's great advice, and I think particularly, supply chain can be a hard industry to work within. It can be a stressful job. It can be a hard job to progress your career within. And if you're in a job that you don't enjoy, then knowing when to look and when to pivot and when to change is very important. And yeah, I think that's really good advice. On the topic of advice, supply chain is transforming a lot. There's a lot of new technology. There's a lot of new focuses. What do you think are the most important skills that supply chain leaders of the future should look to develop today?
Well, I think that we are living in an environment that is transforming. We have trends like artificial intelligence, sustainability, things that are really game changers. But if you ask me which are the key skills for a supply chain leader, I will start with the traditional ones. Supply chain is a people business. We tend to think about that mostly about machines, huge and complex information flows, which are true, and we have to really be able to really to manage and have the skills to understand that. But the first thing, normally in supply chain, you will have the biggest amount of people of the company, and if you want to be a leader in this part of the business, you have to be also a people leader. If you are not a people leader, no matter how good you are with artificial intelligence, managing the trends, the resilience of your supply chains, probably you will be not the right leader. So I will start with that. And the second point for me, the second point that skills is learning and understanding the business. Supply chain is not an isolated part of the business. It's a critical part of the business, no matter what you are producing. Fast-moving consumer good product, an industrial one, or a service. Supply chain is a critical part of the business. So the first skill or the second skill that I will recommend is having the capability to understand how your business works, what is important for your business, and how you, from supply chain, are able really to make that work. And probably the third is more a technical one, which are the ones that we are reflecting, is change, adaptability, understanding which are the new trends. It could be AI, it could be how we make our supply chains more resilient. That's our more capabilities that I link to this knowledge, but also to the flexibility of learning, that it has to be something in the full career. You have to be learning every day. And today we are learning about AI, I don't know, in 5 years, which will be the new thing that we have to learn, and learn how we are able to really to embed that into our day-to-day or in our strategies in order to deliver what our business needs from a supply chain organization. So if you ask me, that will be the three key skills: people leader, understanding the business and how supply chain makes the business work, and the third one is learning spirit in order to be able to adapt to the new changes and to be able to really put it in place in your organization.
No, I think it's great advice. And more commonly, as I talk to people about this, I hear people talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, looking at resilience, and these things are obviously critically important, but being able to manage and lead teams both on the ground, in a warehouse, in a plant, as well as on a 25,000 people wide scale, that people leadership, people have to start with that skill. And I think a lot of people, as they start out their careers, they see these new trends, they see these emerging skill sets that people are looking for, and that's where they rush to try and find the knowledge. And I think I'm glad that was the first thing you said was, people management and people leadership, because supply chain is a people leadership role. So really insightful experience and answer there. And I guess through your career, obviously having led those plants and led those sort of site-based roles, how much do you credit that with the role that you're in today, leading teams of tens of thousands of people?
Well, I think that's the type of skills that if you want to be a C-suite executive or a high senior executive, the way that you manage people, the way that you deal with people, the way that you are able to communicate and transmit your messages is more important even than the knowledge that you have. And I think that one of the beauties of supply chain is that you can be exposed to big crowds of people from a very early in your career with different types of behaviors, with different types of education, and that learns you or teach you how to really adapt. And communication, being able to lead, to motivate, that's something that it's important no matter in which part of the organization, but it's even more and more important as you have a bigger responsibility in the organization. And I think that one of the beauties from my side, from my perspective on supply chain, is that really you can start very, very early to have exposure to teams and to people from different profiles.
No, brilliant. And to your second point around learning the wider business and making sure that you're able to work not only within the supply chain function, but make sure supply chain is a business function. What do you think is the best way for people to learn that throughout their career? Obviously, there's the academic route of going and taking an MBA, but then there's also the hands-on route. And how would you encourage people to do that throughout their career?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, probably there is a part that you can learn, and it's I think that everyone that wants to have a long career, the supply chain has to understand properly the P&L of their company. But that's something that you can learn in an MBA or by yourself or wherever. I think that the important part is also curiosity. In supply chain, probably you will have the opportunity to be connected with many other areas of the company. It could be marketing, it could be finance, it could be commercial for sure, people and culture. I think that you have to have the curiosity to go beyond your area, not falling in the trap of a silo. So understanding what your colleague is doing, understanding in a project which are the inputs of everyone. And with this type of exposure, it will be quite easy to really connect with your knowledge and understanding how the things are working. Also being open to work in transversal projects. That's the type of things that will give you the experience. And I think that curiosity is the key here. If you just think about, I want to be the best in my area, and just looking inside my area, you will miss the opportunity to learn from others. So for me, it's what you can learn in a book and the curiosity that is taking advantage of all the great people that probably you will have around you in your career.
Fantastic. I'm curious, what advice would you give to someone who is maybe a year, 2 years into their career in supply chain, who's ambitious, who's looking to make it one day to that C-suite? What would your advice be to someone just starting out their career?
The first one, enjoy. If you don't enjoy doing what you do, you are not going to success. And if you success, you are not going to have fun, and work is an important part of the life. So if you don't enjoy what you do, probably it's a matter of rethinking what you are doing and if it's the right area for you to work. And probably will come back to my previous points. It's don't get obsessed with planning your career, with progressing too fast. Supply chain is different, for instance, from marketing. In marketing, you can have a quite fast-paced career. Supply chain requires slower paced careers in many cases because it's I would say it's a bit more complex. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the rest of the functions are complex, but if we go to the three elements that we were mentioning, these people lead skills is something that you don't get from one day to another. Understanding or leading a big group will require some time for you to really be able to do that in a way that is understood. And just as I mentioned, learn from the people that you find around you, understanding which are the things that could help you in order to progress, understanding which is important in your career, but don't get obsessed with that and just having fun and working delivering. At the end, it's about that, having fun. And if you do it, if you have what you do, you have the curiosity to learn about more things, things will come along.
Fantastic. And on the other side of the coin, what advice would you give to a senior leader, a senior director, a vice president who wants to make that final step to C-suite in their career, wants to sit on the board? What advice would you give to that person who's one step away?
The first one, I will first advice will be honest to yourself. Assess your real options and what do you think that you will give in order to get that role? Because first we have to self-assess ourselves and see if we are capable or we are the right fit for this role that we are looking for. We have to assess ourselves and understanding if really that could happen in the current company, or probably for many multiple reasons, many good talent, many good candidates, you have to explore in other places, and also assess if it's really you are okay to devote the time or taking the risk that it comes with this type of decisions or type of it. So I think it's being honest to yourself and really assess that very carefully and fight for it. If you think that it's what you like, if it's what you want, if you are okay with all this challenge, fight for it.
Really good advice. And I think there's a lot of people I know in the market that they aim for that point. They know sometimes it might be out there. They feel that they're ready, but to get there it's challenging. So I think fighting for it is a good way to look at it, and very, very good advice. Brilliant. Jose Antonio, thank you so much for joining me. Really great advice, and appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for hosting me.